All right. All right. All right. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here with us tonight. We've got a few folks here in the room, and we're going to be able to kind of run around so you can see them. We've got the owl running, and you may, unless we're talking, you won't see them. So it's good for you, but you can see everybody who's online. So let's run around the room, and we'll start on my left. Well, first, I'm Douglas Jackson.
I'm Amy McGinnis.
Cody Statler.
Tahisha Woods.
And that's it here in the office. And then we've got a great group online, and we'll get a chance to kind of interact and engage a little bit. And as people are still coming on, let's first we'll step back a little bit and just say we had a terrific conversation 2 weeks ago and around our values and what's driving us, and I really enjoyed it. And I've heard from several people that they went back and watched it as well. And I wanted, everybody's gone back. I think like 22 people had gone back and watched that. Thank you all for participating in that, and then also catching up if you weren't able to be here in the room. And I did want to check in and ask for some reflections. I can hear the doors opening now, and someone else is coming in the room. Well, hi, Marianne. Yeah. See, and you don't get the hugs if you don't come in. And but I did want to step back just a little bit and see if there are any reflections. Brian Cunahan's in the house. See if there are any reflections on the conversation we had 2 weeks ago. If anyone has had any further thoughts on those values and what drives what we're doing and the commonalities of it. We can have that, or we can also have anything that you want to celebrate that's happened in the last 2 weeks as well. Anything you want to celebrate or any big lessons you've learned. So this is kind of how we like to open it, just with a little bit of reflection. And that's for anybody out there online or anybody in the room. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's okay. The bells are still ringing.
I know, it's beautiful. Morning has broken. No, it's 7 o'clock at night. I don't mind sharing that.
Great, thanks, Tahisha.
I got to tell Doug about a few conversations I had today with people who are involved in the project and supportive. And, you know, you'll hear people say, I'm sure you've heard it, I appreciate what you're doing in the community and what you want to do. And yet you can't do it without community. You do it because of community. There are so many people on the call and right beside me that helped me make those connections. So it's just like in all directions, and it's just a beautiful encompassing thing when we have a community like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear, and there's applause in the room.
Yeah.
I'll say that I went to Pops on Sunday night, and he said that somebody left him a thick stack of Arts Connect neighbors catalogs, and there were only 2 left. So he
Wow.
said people have really been going through them and seemed pretty excited about them. So
Oh, yeah. Pops is the kind of place where
yeah,
I can see that. Oh, good. Yeah, who took them to Pops? Raise your hand.
My friend did.
yeah.
My friend did. He was going and I gave him a bunch of them. So
Excellent. Well, I've got the list we can pull up later on and see where they might not have gone yet. If folks want to keep taking them out. Any other reflections or things to celebrate?
I went to a circle singing circle, which was wonderful on Sunday, and a dance circle on Saturday night, which had new people, and a reparations group last night. So lots of good community things happening.
Terrific. Where was the circle singing happening this time?
It's held at Fishburne Recreation Center.
Great.
Where's that?
And Fishburne, let's see. Mountain View Recreation Center, or, yeah, or Fishburne Mansion, yeah, over on 13th Street.
Yeah, beautiful rose gardens.
Yeah, and Mary Ann, yeah.
Well, actually, I went to the Riverdale community meeting for what Ed Walker's, were you there too?
Yeah. This thing.
Okay, so, yeah, it was very exciting what he's planning to do, and the community, the input from the community was really great, because people had a couple of ideas that he had not thought about, that he felt would be good, projects for that community.
Great, right.
So the railroad tracks are coming up at Cross Ninth.
Excellent. Well, that's a good segue too. That's gonna be the main, well, a piece of that is gonna be the main part of our conversation tonight. Yeah, let me check in. Did anybody out there online go on Sunday to the Riverdale? Molly Kernan. Yeah, Molly, you have any reflections on it? Oh, you're on mute. Yeah, there you go.
It was really interesting. I noticed that maybe some of the stuff that neighbors were looking for wasn't exactly what they have in mind. But that there's just so much potential for stuff to happen there. I think it's great that they're going to keep us included in the conversation. I hope that they really stick to that, because that's important.
Yeah, excellent.
I think that is the intention. I mean, I can speak not just to Artspace, but as part of the Riverdale team, we certainly understand that Southeast residents are the ones who are most impacted. What was that?
I think it was.
And we, not to say that every single wish on everybody's and each individual Christmas list can come true, but I think that the hope is that the community continues to feel like they are a part of the conversation, and that efforts are being made to do that. I mean, it's always like, well, we want a community center, and that's great. Community centers have to have funding. I don't know what particular things came up in the conversation because I wasn't there, but hopefully that I'll have a chance to go back and look at the notes that came out of that meeting, and I'd love to connect with anybody who wants to share more with me personally.
Great. Well, that's a good segue, and Amy's kind of got the floor already, and I've asked Amy if she'd kind of guide us through a little bit of conversation. There's an Artspace team that is paving the way, or trying to get us all excited about the survey that's out there and the potential for creating affordable live, work space and creative space in the community. So let me turn it over to Amy.
Absolutely. And Douglas, I did just share with you this document that I'm going to be referring to in case people want to do more than just listen to me talk. So Doug asked for a quick refresher on Artspace. Some of you, show of hands, who's familiar with Artspace and knows what it is generally that we're talking about? So that's a majority, I would say, but not all. So Artspace is a national nonprofit. They're based in Minnesota, and their mission is affordable living and working spaces for creatives and creative space attached to the living and the housing situation. They have about 55 installation projects around the country. They've been doing this for 30 years. And the cool thing to know is that all of their projects that they put in motion are still operating. None of them have gone defunct or been sold or anything like that. They're all still operating. How they are different than other developments is that they are affordable, first of all, but they incorporate additional space within each unit. It's 100 to 150 square feet generally that is set aside so that people can actually create and work in their living space. So that is, we are in progress or in process of trying to bring them to Roanoke to do a development at Riverdale. So they came in September, they did their preliminary feasibility study, and they were as they said, we pretty much knocked it out of the park. That is in large part to Doug and the work that he's been doing, I think, and he was their primary tour guide while they were here. They were very excited about Roanoke and immediately told us that they wanted to progress to the next stage, which is the arts market study, where they look at what we are at our demand for their products. And that's accomplished solely through this arts market study, which is the survey. That's all the arts market study is. So that's why it's so important and why we're working so hard at this point to push the information out so that all sectors of the creatives in Roanoke and the surrounding area can participate in that. So the signs are all really positive, and Artspace has kind of let us know how much they're enthusiastic about Roanoke, but they do have to have the data that's going to come out of the survey. So about the survey, what it's asking and why, the biggest thing they need to know is they're gauging, as I said here, both the appetite for and the ability to qualify under the affordable housing metrics, which are set by the government. They're not set by Artspace. The project itself is broader. There won't just be housing. There will be creative space, community space, and that will be built to the specific needs of the Roanoke community. But all of that is contingent on the housing piece being coming to be. So that's why we need to demonstrate that interest. The survey asks things like your household size, your household income, what your creative endeavors are, and then it also dives into the desires for the creative space that would be appended to it, whether it's studio space. You know, do people want studio space? Do they want creative maker space, classrooms, performing arts spaces, those kinds of things? I've got those listed out so that you can read that. So if anybody indicates interest in those kinds of spaces, then they get further questions that ask what kind of amenities are most desired in those spaces by that particular survey taker. So that's how they get information. And again, they ask, you know, what are you willing to pay? How much can you pay for that? So that leads to the survey promotion strategy. And our strategy is reaching out as broadly and deeply into the creative community as we can. And I hope that everybody here on this call and in the room will consider themselves part of that strategy. We have print materials that have been designed by Cody Statler. They're amazing. And he's also running our social media. I think we're going to have to pull up some of those pieces of creative work. I was going to do that here by sharing his screen.
I have to get
How about this one? That looked promising, no?
Yeah, that was where I was figuring out the where did it go?
Well, we got half of it.
Well, where?
That's great.
Here it is. That's where I was figuring out the colors for the website. I had to make a little.
They're great.
I had to cheat a little bit. Yeah.
So what you're looking at now is it's a postcard. So it's like a little hand-sized card, and on the back of it, it's actually a postcard for people like me and hopefully others. You could actually mail that to somebody. You could stick a stamp on it and mail it. But it also has a QR code that takes people directly to the survey. Well, take them to a landing page with some information about the survey and also to the survey. So the QR code is absolutely key. It is how we connect people to the survey. And I would encourage everybody to go to the website, absolutely take the survey first off, but take a picture of the QR code and have it on your phone. So that if you find yourself in a conversation talking to somebody about the survey, you can say, here, scan the QR code right here and take the survey. And we also have stacks and stacks of these postcards, and we are getting posters printed that are more coolness, just like that, but bigger and with more detail. That also we'd love to have people participate in by putting them up places that you go. My hope is that everybody is excited about engaging with their community. And as you go places, whether you go to events or performances or meetings or talks, that you feel free to hand out the materials that are available, or just talk to people and connect about it. So, whew, that's a lot of words for me. Thank you all for bearing with me. And I'd love, if people have questions about the project, I would love to answer them.
Big question. What is considered affordable?
Absolutely great question.
Because
And it's
one person might say one number that's like,
right, absolutely. And that is, it's a key question, and it is, we're gonna answer it in our FAQs. Affordable is not set by Artspace, it is set by the government, and it is a percentage of what's called AMI, area median income. And so there's a number that exists out there for Rona that is the area median income number, and affordable. So in order to qualify for affordable housing, you make your income is a certain percentage of AMI. And in this instance, it's 30 to 60%. That number is not high. Within that, the rent is set on a sliding scale. So somebody who makes 30% of AMI is not going to pay the same rent as somebody making 60% of AMI. The rents themselves are sliding scale. So that is considered. A great question, and thank you so much for bringing that up right off the bat.
Thank you. I wanted to on Sunday. But I thought, well, I'll just wait and find out later.
And now you know.
Yes. Now, the 30, I'm confused about the 30 and 60%. Is 60% a higher income or a lower income?
So it's 30 to 60%. That's also a good question. So let's just use a number. Let's say area median income is $50,000. So 60% of that would be, my math is right, so around 34,000. You're making me do the.
I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
So 60% would be, okay, where's Ben Bazak when we need him? So 60% of that area median income would be a higher figure than 30%.
Okay, all right, that's
So
understood. 'Cause sometimes it goes in reverse.
Right, and that's a household income, so if you're one person, one household, I don't know a ton of details and information about that, but it is something that is set by the government, and I believe you can just Google it if you want to look up what is.
You can, and it is determined by the number in your household also. More people in the household, more money, or let, the
Two
qualification.
incomes, more money,
Exactly.
but more kids don't.
And then kids and things like that.
Right. So.
But I can't claim my cats.
So any additional,
creatives?
Yeah.
There we go.
additional questions from folks on the call or in the room?
Can you, I wasn't there Sunday, so,
Yeah.
and I should know more about this. The difference between what Artspace is and Riverdale.
Great. Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much. So Artspace is the actual nonprofit based out of Minnesota, and they would come, if they decide to do a project here, they would own one of the buildings in the Riverdale complex. So thanks so much for clarifying that. And then they would do their development at Riverdale. But Riverdale and Artspace are not actually connected as entities.
And so if Artspace doesn't do all of our hopes and dreams, it's up to Riverdale to fill those.
Well, or another developer who could come in. The reason that Artspace can do what they do is because they're a nonprofit and they have extensive experience in leveraging financial pathways to making these developments, which are obviously very expensive, affordable.
So, I'm sorry, I'm holding this down. In my mind then, so this is the equivalent of developing a mall and then getting sort of anchor store in there. But this one's a creative anchor that's gonna help define.
I love that. I love that, but I'm so much more excited about Artspace than I am about Bell. I cannot,
Me too.
or Chipotle, I can't begin to tell you. But yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
And we've got a couple of questions on the internet, but before, I'll push back against that analogy a little bit, just because I can't.
You don't
use-
like that as a mall?
No, I can't use the mall as an analogy, but, because they're really building a neighborhood. They're
Yeah,
building a
sure.
community, and market rate housing is gonna be part of that, certainly. That's gonna be the bulk of it, I would imagine. But if we get, an affordable housing project that's centered around a creative community, that can center belonging in a way that I think it's exciting. It's one of the first projects you're talking about. And I just want to point out that's it's a little extraordinary, and exciting. Yeah.
It's been something that we have been talking about all along with the Riverdale project, and if you have affordable housing, that's fantastic. With that can come, this mixed use piece, which might be, less than market rate pricing for, other arts adjacent businesses or nonprofits. Maybe, I don't know what the symphony's doing these days. Where are they housed? They aren't downtown anymore. I know that. Maybe they would want to come, or a different Roanoke Baroque. Artspace works with, nonprofits and arts organizations to try and make those affordable spaces for them as well. Or my dream, what about, an art supply store, that we no longer have?
Hey, Jane, you have a question? And we'll go Jane, then Misty, and then Ben.
And drop things in the comments too, if you want, we can look at those.
Jane?
Ditto on that art supply store. I put that in my comments on the sheet Sunday in big red letters. But my question is, are Artspace housing pet friendly?
Yes, they are. And that is answered on the, actually Artspace's own FAQs. They have pet friendly policies, and they are, they have tall ceilings and light and all the things that matter to everybody, but maybe particularly to those working in their homes.
All right, Misty Dawn. Where'd you go?
I'm here. I just had to unraise my hand. Sorry, maybe I'll put my hand back up. I don't know what I'm doing. There's too many buttons. Hey everybody. I know I'm a little late to the game, but I've been reading emails, watching videos, loving the journey. Some questions and kind of concern that I just, as someone who's done social work for 20 years and knows a little bit about housing and income-based housing, some of my concern is this. It's between that 30 and 60%. Well, we want our artists to be successful. What happens when you get past that 60%? How often are you evaluated? Is it a year-to-year lease? How is that? If an artist takes flight, and they are outside of that income, we're just going to uproot someone out of their community that helped make them successful. So I don't know if we're going to have follow-up transitional housing that is still part of that, community or space. I don't know, like a graduate program. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't want people to be in this poverty mindset while we're trying to create something beautiful and sustainable. And I want to make sure people are coming in that can grow. Like I want it to, someone who understands wealth, and we want to make this project a fluid thing, right? I want people to come in, gain their grounds, gain traction, be successful, and then be able to move on. But I also know that we need a core hub of people to sustain that community and to keep it like that hub, if that makes any sense, the heart of the art space. So I'm shutting up now.
That is an amazing question, and honestly not one I've heard before, and I don't know the answer to it. In terms of how often are you evaluated, that kind of thing. Again, I'm going to say that is not something that is in Artspace's direct control. Is my guess. It's going to be dictated by whatever those federal guidelines are on the housing. I do know that there's that next reach of affordable housing, which is the 80% level. And I don't know, I'm not sure how that's gonna fit into this, but, if people truly take flight, then they can take advantage of the market rate housing. But then if they're maybe at that 80%, so above the 60%, then they're in the middle of that. And that's a great question. And I don't know the answer to it, but I'm gonna find out. And I'll follow up with you, okay? And
Appreciate
absolutely.
Thanks, Misty Dawn. And then Ben.
Hey, I just, was wondering what for the purposes of the survey and of course, getting responses and getting people to take part in this Artspace project, what's our geographical area in terms of, I mean, because, I mean, I don't know, this is Roanoke. We're the major city from here to all the way to Lee County, as far as I'm concerned. So, I mean,
Yes.
there are probably creatives that are in Hillsville
Again, a great
that
question.
might see this as a great opportunity to locate
Mhm.
to a place. So are they viable to respond to this survey, and I guess maybe to you, Doug, are we organized enough to get word to those far-reaching places?
I don't know about being organized enough to get word to the far-reaching places. We are definitely reaching out into the adjacent counties to the extent we can. And Ben, if you are headed down to, Lee County or Wytheville or wherever, anybody take some postcards with you, because literally the Artspace team had this same thought. And we asked the question on the survey be, do you live in Roanoke, or are you willing to know, but I'm willing to relocate to Roanoke? So there were different questions. And so it's anybody, like if you have a kid who went off to VCU and they couldn't get a job in Roanoke and they're working in Richmond and you want them to come back, tell them to fill out their survey, because if they are willing to relocate, their voice counts in this survey. So, so we call it Roanoke and or adjacent area. So that's all the surrounding counties and anybody willing to relocate.
Yeah, and I would just add to that and say, like, the nice thing about the postcard is it's a postcard. So you can send it to people. And I've got a friend who lives in Florida, and so I sent it to him, and maybe he'll consider relocating. So come by and grab some and then mail them out to any and everybody that you think would be interested.
But as far as Artspace is concerned, that's all legit.
That's my understanding is if somebody is expressing a willingness to move to Roanoke, that their voice is being counted.
Thank you.
I don't know if they are weighting it somehow. I mean, they do ask, where do you live currently? They ask for the zip code, but they are specifically asking that question. Are you interested in relocating to Roanoke?
And I think the other important part of it is, like, this isn't gonna happen next year.
Right.
So, there might be a nice window of time for them to relocate. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind.
Misty Dawn, you have another question?
Yes, of course. I will be the question lady, everybody. Here's the question. You talked about the 30% and 60% and them getting the rate. Is there a website that we can either put on as a link just to inform ourselves? It's really informing us kind of that data, that raw data of what our financial zones need to be. I know that maybe it's a cart before the horse, but for someone who understands a little bit about fair housing, it can be very complicated to explain. And if there was something that we could go to for the like the national website that has the calculations, hey, would I qualify? What would this look like? Or something like that. I don't know. Just so there's some more, there's something where we can understand what we're getting into and be well informed.
That may actually be in the preliminary feasibility study report that has been put out. That report is, it's linked on the landing page for the survey. I can dig in there. If somebody, I did not bring in a pen to this meeting, which was crazy. If somebody will make a note for me that that I want to, follow up about what happens if somebody moves out of the 60%, and then follow up about that, because I think you're right, Misty Dawn, that that's information that should be out there. I do want to caution that people who do not fall within that 30 to 60% number, I don't want them to be discouraged from filling out the survey, because their voice is still important, particularly when it comes to that shared creative space opportunity that is there. I'm a little bit hesitant to push it out there and be like, these are the people that should take the survey, because the fact is, anybody who's interested in being involved in the project in some way should be heard.
And I want to point out, oh, Mary Ann.
What is the time frame for this?
Right, good follow-up question. Artspace projects take somewhere between 3 and 6 years to come on board, and we're already partway into that, because we've done the preliminary feasibility study. The survey will be open through March, middle of March, I think, and then various things come from that. But the biggest thing that takes time is the finance piece. Before they set a shovel in the ground, they have their financing completely set so that the project is sustainable, feasible and sustainable. So that's the biggest piece. Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know when it comes to the actual developing stage, if they would develop the whole property at once, or if they'd start with a portion, but my overall question is, how many people did they estimate they could bring into this property?
Also a great question. The number that we heard, and that will be, the fact is, that's going to be dictated in large measure by the survey. So if we have 70 people who are qualified candidates, that's going to make them think differently about things than if we have 40. But they have projects around the US. I think the smallest ones are in the 40 range, 40 units, and the biggest ones closer to 100.
And Joy.
Yeah, I was wondering, since like we know the income range is 30 to 60% of the median income, is there a way we can find out what the rent would be, like on a sliding scale? Like, how much would the monthly rent be for somebody making 30% of the median income, and how much would the rent be for somebody making 60%?
So that's a fair question. I think that Artspace is very hesitant to put those specific things out there, partially because they change from year to year. I mean, not dramatically, but that is, again, these are things that are set at a federal level. So I don't know. I think the area, there's going to be like the rent that is charged to somebody at 60% of AMI in Roanoke is going to be different than the rent charged to somebody at 60% of AMI in Fairfax. So, but I think that affordable really is pretty affordable. And my assumption is that that's your question on that.
Yeah, I was just, wanting like a range, because like for me, looking around at what is considered affordable in Roanoke right now is not affordable to me. So it's just, like wanting to
Is that income-based affordable?
Just looking at 1-bedroom apartments for a single person, it's like just way out of what I can afford. Like
so
it's got to
those
be.
And that is market rate. Those are market rate apartments, and
Yeah, market rate apartments.
These are not market rate apartments. These are affordable. And we understand the distinction between the two. And
okay.
Doug may know more.
I think you described it well. Yeah, I think this is going to be an education for all of us. And Misty Dawn, thank you. Those questions were terrific. It is like housing is kind of a complex thing, especially when you get involved in all these in the federal guidelines and HUD and such. But these are things that are once we get smarter in it, it's really going to help us be advocates for others in our community who need the advocacy. And yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot. And I do think we're creating a community. And Amy mentioned that work that had been done prior to Artspace coming to town made a difference. And that's our work. That is not me. That's the community that we're building. And if you were there at that event, at Riverdale in September, I mean, you felt it, and you can't create that overnight. So all of the work that's happening and the energy that's happening in Roanoke, this is all of us, all the different projects. It feels like so much in a way, all these different pieces, and they come together. And I want to point out that there's a whole team working on kind of getting the word out, and Cody's been doing a terrific job with designing, and Johnny Quinn is pulling together some informational sessions, and Lisa Linger's on the team, and Pedro, and it's a fun team to work with. And so keep an eye out for the postcards. And lots of electronic. Cody, you want to talk any more about any of the social media stuff?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of say, like, the biggest thing with this is we need all of your help. It's really not a very long window for us to kind of have this survey out there, so we don't have really the time or the traction to get big social media followings and really build this up. It's already live. Now, we haven't announced it yet, but all of you are now aware, so you can start sharing it with people. We'll probably do more of an official announcement, I would think, next week, and kind of really start, pushing the word out there. But we need the community support. It's the people that follow you and you are interested in and friends with, like, we need to just share it as much as we can and spread the word in our community.
And to the extent, if you are active on social media, please engage, just share if you will. But even just the liking and the commenting helps those algorithms that all our lives are kind of affected by these days. So that'll be super helpful.
And then even some of the questions that were asked tonight, you could ask them again on social media, and then somebody else that discovers it, maybe they can find it there. And when we answer it, that information will be right there. So.
There is, when you take the survey, you'll get sent back to a page that gives you an opportunity to be more involved. There's a program called Artspace Ambassadors, which it was something I was excited about. Just people who are more informed and educated about Artspace and are excited to spread the word. If you want to be part of that, there's an opportunity to just click on something and fill out your contact information, because we do need people to not just reach out into your direct groups, networks, but also to sort of staff events. I'm hoping to things like the Creative Social Hour, which is the last Friday of the month at Circulation. We could have they told us that we can have somebody there handing out postcards and information. The same thing with Taubman we'll hope to engage it with Taubman with their late nights, maybe at the, we need to ask permission, of course, before we show up at galleries and things like that. But my hope is that they will be open and receptive to having somebody sort of literally standing at the door and saying, hey, would you be interested in affordable living in creative space in Roanoke? And if so, would you take a moment to fill out the survey? So anyway, that sort of direct personal engagement is something that we could use more. The more bodies and we have, the more we'll get the word out. Okay, I think any other questions that have come up? And thank you all so much for your interest and engagement.
All right, and thank you, Amy, for leading us through that. And then Holly, there's an event coming up this week. Let's see.
Yes, indeed. And I was wondering, could I read a poem?
Oh, you sure can. Oh, yes, thank you.
An ode to a friend, a point in time. I've been without home now nearly a year. I can't really say which place housed the most fear. I've been to the shelters and I've been on the street and I felt like they all looked at my body as meat. So I get to used to misery. It's easy to gain. It can grow such good company and can strip off some pain. I slept on couches and floors with fellow brave souls. I forgot and thought it was real love with some. Those promises crushed, my heart broken again. I've been yelled at and punched and left hungry and spent. One guy got jealous and sliced up my tent. Some kind people gave me new supplies, so I shared them and carried as much as I could, but you gotta know the rules when you're walking those hoods. And then that woman who wanted to fight 3 months back at that shelter y'all say is right. She called me the aggressor and sent me to court, but I lost my phone and forgot the date. So now I'm 10 days in jail for being late. We never know what's around the next corner, but I hold my head high as I seek new cover. Somehow I keep up with the paperwork and services, all those rules and timelines for the help we must follow. So many of us waiting in hopes for tomorrow. I may have great knowledge and have worked for good causes. I may still hold dreams for the world to be fair. Though a daughter abused and a wife overused, without proof, I lost dignity, my kids, and a share. I could not stand up to the system. So we still go to work and balance it all on our backs, ever watchful lest we become prey to a cunning loneliness and the tracks of those unspoken, well-hidden economy trains that feed more poverty, fear, hopelessness, and pain. Will I really be ready to take a new path? Will we be able to even see the next step? What if this life now is all that we can know? What if they judge me unfit? You're the next one up, they say. There's an open space. Can my anger and strength really meet with some grace? Can I trust what is written and what they say? With a safe home and rested eyes, I shall find my heart's pieces again. So that was written for a friend. And on Thursday, we're going to be welcoming many others to the Berglund Center. 7 of us have confirmed showing up with some activities to allow participants a safe space to relax and create if they want. Jane's bringing spin art and mask making. Brett, portrait drawings. Corey and I are working on a participatory tree activity with prompt questions. Lisa is bringing an activity for movement. Catherine, a sculpture activity. Robin's coming to help. I'll be bringing some visual signs and paper to cover tables, and some ways of inviting folks to the space. And anyone else that wants to come and join us, it's this Thursday. We're setting up at 8 a.m. and we'll be there until 1. And I've got some lunches for those who confirmed with me. And yeah, any other questions or thoughts?
Where is it again?
The Civic Center. And it'll be on the, if you're coming to park, it'll be on the Orange Avenue side, the right side of the building.
Well, Holly, I want to thank you for your leadership in pulling this together. I think it's really important. I know that the continuum of care folks, Hope in our office is really, really pleased about this, and they see the value and they think it's important. And I just appreciate everyone who's taken time out to do this. And I know that that you'll learn a lot that day as well. And we're looking forward to hearing your reflections on the experiences as well. Any other questions for Polly? All right. And then tomorrow night, we're going to have a shindig at the Grandin Theater, 6 o'clock. Shalene, where'd Shalene go? Let's see. Oh, she was just there. I just saw her. She popped off. Okay. She might have felt me about the call on her. No, she wouldn't do that. She's true blue. Shalene Powell with the Roanoke Cultural Endowment, they're our partner in a lot of things, and they're our partner in the Arts Connect Neighbors catalog, and as well as the Roanoke Neighborhood Advocates. And Molly Hunter, the new neighborhood lead, is going to be with us on tomorrow night. We are going to gather beginning at 6. We're going to have enough time for people to get popcorn if they want popcorn, I think. And then settle in for a 6:30 or so showing of the Buzz episode for Arts Connect Neighbors. And I know there are folks who in the call and here tonight who were at the reveal party at Anstey Hodge, who were interviewed for it. And so this is us celebrating it and hopefully communicating some through the Blue Ridge television show what this is. And I had heard, I gotta tell you how happy I was. I heard from one neighborhood who said that he called and he said, and he was like quoting it back to me, and he had read the whole thing. And he said, "This is such a gift." And he was so excited. And he said he's going to bring a bunch of neighbors with him tomorrow night. So I hope that's the case. And we hope we get more neighbors coming. And I got to tell you all, thank you. I appreciate every one of you is out there communicating about this. And I know that even though people are picking it up, okay, it didn't stop and it started. So now we're recording again. Okay. And Shalene's still not there. I was going to give Shalene a time to shout out. That scared me, but thank you. And Becky, I want to acknowledge too, you just mentioned, you thanked Polly for the poem. Yeah, Polly, I do want to circle back to that poem. Did you write that for someone else? Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Well, thank you for honoring their experience in that way. It really was a powerful piece. Yeah. Do you want to say anything else about that?
It was good for me to write, as all our arts are for us, and an example of what we want to share with other people. So the written word, giving people a chance to share their stories, is really valuable and important. And I spent a year with somebody and witnessing and traveling and doing errands and witnessing things that I'd never seen before in Roanoke. So it was a powerful experience for me, but my empathy and compassion is what still resonates inside and motivates my desire to be a part of helping and looking at future changes.
Yeah. Thank you. There's so much being said and written, and you hear it all the time about how important stories are. And as important as they are, the listening is even more important, I think.
Absolutely.
And that poem just really showed a lot of listening. And it made me think too about the work that Jane has done with the Empathy Project, along with Brian Hancock, and the power of that, sitting with families who've been impacted by gun violence, who've lost somebody to, murder by gun. These things are powerful. And the arts are ways to help us listen, to process, to support. So thank you.
Definitely, definitely. And I want to remind everybody that, there are over 100,000 people in the area, 50 different neighborhoods. So as we think about, getting the word out about the workshops, there may be some places you want to explore. And I remember back when I used to put flyers on bulletin boards before Facebook, that it was really good to explore the town and, see where the laundromats and grocery stores were in parts of town that you'd never been to before. So I really encourage people to think about that. And if you know other service providers who work in parts of the community, workshops in those areas would be ideal. Start getting people aware of their access to art in Roanoke.
Wow, I love that you said that. And I'm thinking, when none of us had, there was a point in the pandemic, we got away from printed things. We might need to get back to them. And if anyone has a strategy that they want to explore that way, and we want to print up some posters, we have resources to do that. And I would love some assistance in thinking about it, or if somebody wants to take on the strategy. I love the laundromat strategy. You could imagine something taking place outside of a laundromat while people are doing their laundry in a neighborhood. So yeah, thanks, Folly. Yeah. So Arts Connect Neighbors, tomorrow is the official kind of launch of it. These conversations are going to continue happening in lots of creative ways. I hope we get some folks immediately saying, hey, I want somebody to help us prepare for the Daisy Art Parade. And we've got some applications that are coming in now, and we're getting that process down. Joy and Katie and Antonio are meeting on Friday afternoon, and they're going to start talking about the process for facilitation with neighborhoods. And then on the 6th of February, they're going to present that to us, how they see that coming. That's going to be on one of our Tuesday night calls. Misty Dawn.
I think Catherine Devine has something to say. She was trying to get your attention. Yeah.
Catherine Devine, hi, sorry about that. I don't know where to look anymore. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, actually, Missy, I wanted to bring it up that I brought some catalogs to the West End Farmers Market, and they already said they want more. I said I'd grab more tomorrow night. So I'll volunteer to bring them to the Farmers Market, both Grandin and West End, because I think there's a lot of receptivity to bringing arts and creative events to those neighborhoods as well.
Terrific. Thank you. Yeah, we've got that little spreadsheet. You can go in and if the site's not there, please go in and add the site so that we can, especially if it's in a neighborhood we want to reach that we might not have considered, or if it's an unusual place that you think we haven't considered, but we probably haven't. Add it in there so that we can do, build this for next time and have a really strong outreach document. And then if you and I think there's some folks who have delivered some that aren't, that their name may not be by it yet. So please go in there and do that as well. And so we're looking forward to seeing everybody.
Has something.
Oh, all right, who's that? Yeah.
Hey, Doug,
Hey,
how would you feel about taking some to like the schools that my kids go to? Would we want some up in the office or something like that?
Yes, I think it'd be fine. We might have to have some conversations about it too. That remember on this, the real, cause it's that hidden secret behind it, that this is neighborhood capacity building. So we don't want, say, and a business can be a good spark for it. If they're help, if we're saying, oh, hey, you know what, neighbors, you can use this space. But we want the neighbors to come together and organize it. And that's what we want the facilitators to help doing. And I'm having this conversation a lot lately. If it's a library, or if it's a neighbor, like someone who is providing services in a neighborhood, that can be terrific. But we don't want to, those things are already happening. There are workshops in library, or events happening every day in libraries. We could spend this money and just supplement the library budget and have more events happening. But we want to do it really thoughtfully and say, how are we going to help neighbors connect and start new things, connect in new ways? Our neighborhood associations are weaker than they had been in the past, and we want to strengthen them. So we want to pay for the art. We think the arts are a great way to get started doing that.
Yeah.
So it could be that the PTA, if it's an elementary school and which serves the neighborhood around it, the PTA might be a good source or a good partner in that. And they might say, oh yeah, well, here's what we'll do. We will reach out to not only the students in the school, then we'll start to get we'll figure out what kind of event they want. And then we'll help the students and the families reach out to other neighbors. And so ideally we'd have kind of an intergenerational neighborhood kind of place-based effort that happens at the school. So was that like both a yes and no answer?
Yeah. That works. I will figure it out.
Yeah. And we're happy to have more and more conversations about this too. Yeah.
One of the things to be aware of is that if it's a public school, they are very touchy about what information you can disseminate through the school system.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I would totally suggest if you decide you want to go that route and reach out to the PTA, as Doug said, there you're dealing with individuals rather than trying to disseminate it through the schools.
Yeah, and we did not put the language that has to be on there on it. We didn't necessarily expect this to go through the schools, although, yeah, if there's a PTA and someone wants to lead it and the school wants to be a part of it, then that's great. Okay, and then just let me run through a few dates for us before we head out, and I'll check in for more questions after I do this, and we'll end on some of that conversation. If you're part of a nonprofit organization and volunteering with them, if you're writing grants for them, then you probably know that Thursday at noon is the deadline for the nonprofit grants. Next week, I'm going to head to a summit that the NEA is putting on, and it's around community and civic building through the arts. And it's in DC, and so I'm coming. It's on Tuesday, so that night I will report out what I've gained from Monday night and Tuesday before anything is lost. And I'm hoping, and there'll be some funders there, so I'm hoping we can identify some next step funding as well. Let's see, I've got a new calendar that's just kind of bridging the 2 months, and we'll have that tomorrow night at the Grand Inn. The Artist Action Grants, which were like the Art Matters grants in the past, if you have a project or somebody has a project that advances justice, wellness, and inclusion, those are open through the 31st, and it's roanokearts.org/action, or you can just Google Artist Action Grant Roanoke and it'll come up. And like I said, on February 6th, we're going to hear from our facilitators on the process. And the end of February, we are now looking for our next Rider by Bus. It's hard to believe. Eva Lynch-Comer did a wonderful job as our Rider by Bus last year, and we're ready to do it again. And I just did stop by. They're probably mad at me, but I stopped by the 3rd Street station and said, "Hey, can can we put these here? We'd really like to get a rider by bus who already rides transit. That'd be really cool. So if you know somebody who might be a good rider by bus, kind of encourage them to apply. You know, this can be poetry, it can be fiction, it can be short essays, it can even be a mini graphic, not a novel, graphic short story. It could be a graphic project as well. Maybe it's somebody who has taken Catherine Devine's cartoon drawing class or superhero class. Yeah. Okay, so those are the events coming up. We'll see everybody tomorrow night, and then I'll ask.
Is Catherine doing another artist talk? Was that moved? Because we got snowed out last month.
Oh yeah, Catherine, you want to give us an update on the artist talk? That's it. You're on mute.
Now, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. Yeah, we had to reschedule. We do have 2 artists who have already committed to being able to be present and share with their subjects on the next gallery talk, which will be on a Tuesday again because of the President's Day holiday in February. So I don't have my calendar in front of me. I feel like it's February 20.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyhow, yes, please come. Please make a date. Please make a point to come if you can, because it really means so much. We had to cancel, and I just didn't want people to be there to share and not have people to be present to hear what they had to say. So we had to postpone that one, but we're hoping we can pick it back up. And yeah, please come. And if you haven't signed up, I know many of you have. We're looking forward to Brian in March, I believe. If you haven't signed up and you are one of the artists exhibiting, please let me know. I know we had Molly's had a great turnout for her portrait of Sunny. So it's just a great experience and really helps as far as like building actual relationships, to get to know people's names and get to sit down and hear why they were so inspired. It really makes a big difference. So I appreciate being part of helping make those connections happen. Thanks, Brian.
And thank you for pulling those together. They are a great community building event. And other questions? Yeah, Taisha.
I have 2 easy questions.
Oh, good.
As artists who are involved in the project, if we want to be leaders for our neighborhood and book something, can we do that?
You sure can. Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful question.
Making sure.
Yeah, you're both a neighbor and an artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're still alive.
Yeah.
And the second question is, there's a minimum of 8 households.
It's that's a rough thing.
Okay.
So what we want to do is just make sure that there's somebody else who's wanting to do it with them. And it gives us a way to have a conversation. So it could be that there are 5 families that always have a block party and they want to get an art activity at that block party. There might be a way we can ask them, what about the next, have you considered inviting the people on the next street over? Or what's your next, what are your goals for the block party? And maybe broadening it some.
But everyone does need to be from the same eligible neighborhood, or can it be combined?
And the neighbor, they get to define the neighborhood. So, and there are some places where it used to be 2 neighborhoods. They had defined neighborhood organizations, and those organizations have gone away. It's really where there's energy. So there's no clear-cut answer to it, but if they're good people who are wanting to do some good in their neighborhood, we're going to try and help them. Yeah, Missy Dawn.
Thanks. I'm sorry. It's a million questions.
That's good. That's fine.
So I didn't quite, when I was reading the writer bus thing, I don't quite understand. Can you paint me a little picture? And the same thing with the action, the artist action. I'm like, my mind is so creative that I overwhelm myself with what that possibility. Can you give me like examples of each of those and what it looks like? And
I can. In fact, are you coming tomorrow night by any chance?
I will be there tomorrow. Me and my daughter will be there. Yes.
I will have a catalog for you that describes a bunch of the projects. We had 34 projects that were done under Art Matters grants this past year, and they were a wide range. And it can be anything that advances justice, wellness, and inclusion. And so there was a video that Deontay Hall did about gun violence. There was a ballet that incorporated American Sign Language and was developed for the deaf community to participate in the audience as for a ballet. So there's a wide range, and there's a lot of ways to make a project fit in that grant program. So that's one thing. Then the artist or the writer by bus, and during the month of April and or May, we will pay someone $1,000 and give them a bus pass. And they ride the bus, and when they're done, they will have to submit to us by the end of June writing that will kind of polished writing that we'll put into a chapbook. And a chapbook is a small, and I'll have some of those tomorrow night too. So you'll get to see one of those and take one home with you. This last one was poetry and some prose. This is going to be the 7th year we've done it. And we've had short essays, we've had poetry, we've had short fiction. And to apply for that, a writer has to show a body of work, give us some examples of what they've done in the past, kind of give us a brag sheet or a CV or a resume, and talk to us about why they want to ride the bus and kind of their role in the community, how the community makes and kind of create or inspires their creativity. And it's a really fun project. Then in September, we celebrate Transit Month, and we bring out the chapbook. This year, we all went for a ride on the bus with the writer by bus. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Recording in progress.
So does that sound good? All right. Anything else?
It's all me, the reverb.
You muted it.
I did. It took me a minute.
God bless you, sound like God coming through.
I was trying to go look at the chat.
All right.
What about the Arts Pop?
Oh, Arts Pop, thank you, Mary Ann. We've got people who are signing up now. I saw Samel signed up to do a movement piece. We have opportunities for workshops. We've got, I think, 3 more opportunities for workshops on Saturday, March 2nd. We're going to we have space for artists to work to just do interactions at a table when people come by. And Miss Dawn, I think you signed up and you're going to do some mandalas. Yeah.
Listen, I'm open to whatever. I love doing all arts. Mandalas is just like this one thing, but yes, like whatever you like, I'm open. I'm overwhelmed with creativity. This is the problem. Like when you have an ADHD creative mind, you're like, I will do this. It's hard for me to pinpoint. You can ask Catherine. I was like, Catherine, I have a list of 20. What do I do? I'm overwhelmed. So whatever like I'm willing to do the flower mandalas, and I need to follow up with you. So I'll try to follow up with you tomorrow about, I had called your office. I don't know if you got my message, but
oh no, but I'm never there.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
busy. You're everywhere. So, but yeah.
We'll follow up, and Sky's going to be there and doing some stuff. Catherine's going to be there. Brian's going to be there. There's more room. It is always fun. It's fun to engage people as they come by. Last year, Jane did her soul boxes with kids as they came by, and I was like, "There's no way these kids are going to be able to do this origami and talk about gun violence." And there they were, doing amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, very, very crisp and quickly. So it shows you I know absolutely nothing, and I undermit. So and so thank you. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what you all do. So there's a sign up sheet. Sign up. And I'll follow up with you, give you more information and details too, as we get closer. So thank you. Thank you all for a terrific conversation, and thank you to our spotlight folks. Okay, everybody, we'll see you next time. We'll see you tomorrow night at the Grand Theater.
Thanks, Doug.
Bye-bye.
Doug, I had not responded for tomorrow night. I was thinking the more neighbors better. And if
Night,
you don't have
everybody.
to hurt us, but
Oh, no,
but if you want me,
we
I
want-
can go home and register tonight.
You don't need, even if you just show up, it's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, don't worry about registering if it's, if you can't find the link or anything. And we'll be, and I'm not sure. I think, well, Michael Hemphill, who gets the registry, he says he thinks we'll have 150 people, but I don't know if that's true or not.